Kayla Vor, supreme matriarch of the Talaxi Empire, watched the small figure approach with barely concealed amusement. Around her, the court rippled with anticipation. This would be entertaining, at least. Humans were still curiosities in the wider galaxy, soft things from a backwater world, recently discovered, barely worth a diplomatic effort. Yet here one stood before her, demanding an audience. "You are dismissed to speak," Kayla Vor said, her four mandibles clicking in what might have been laughter. "Though I cannot imagine what urgency brings a human before the eternal throne." The human, a male called Marcus Kane, according to the diplomatic brief, did not bow. That alone raised eyebrows throughout the chamber. The Talaxi stood 9 feet tall on average. Kayla Vor herself measured 10. This human barely reached 6 feet. His species had no natural armor, no venom sacs, no plasma glands. What were they thinking, sending him here? "I challenge you to ritual combat," Marcus said. The court erupted. Advisors chittered in shock. Guards' hands moved to weapons. Kayla Vor raised one clawed hand, and silence crashed down like a hammer. "You challenge me?" Her voice dripped with disbelief. "You understand what you ask?" "I do. The Treaty of Endless Stars grants any sentient species the right to resolve disputes through combat challenge when diplomatic channels fail. Article 7, Section 3. Kayla Vor's secondary eyes focused sharply on him. "Interesting." The creature had done its research. "You are aware," she said slowly, "that I have killed 17 challengers in ritual combat, that I earned my throne through blood and bone? I am. And you still stand before me making this absurd request?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "Your fleet sits at the edge of human space. Your demands grow more unreasonable daily. You've blockaded our trade routes, seized our ships, imprisoned our people. We've exhausted every diplomatic option. This is the only path left." "Your people sent you to die, then?" Kayla Vor stood, her massive frame unfolding to its full height. How disappointingly predictable. "They didn't send me. I came on my own." This gave her pause. "Your government does not authorize this challenge?" "My government is still debating. I grew tired of waiting." Marcus pulled a data chip from his pocket and held it up. "I invoke the challenge on behalf of the human colony on Theta Persei 4. You claim it falls under your territorial expansion zone. We settled it first. The ritual combat will determine rightful ownership." Kayla Vor descended the steps slowly, each footfall echoing through the chamber. She circled Marcus like a predator examining prey. His heart rate probably skyrocketed, but his face remained calm, his hands steady. "You would stake an entire world on your ability to defeat me in combat?" she asked softly, her breath hot against his face. "You, who possess no natural weapons, who would snap like dry wood in my hands?" "I would." "Why?" The question seemed to catch him off guard. His eyes met hers directly. Another breach of protocol that somehow didn't feel insolent. "Because 50,000 people live on that world. They've built homes, farms, communities. They have children who've never known another planet. You would displace them, scatter them, erase everything they've created. Someone has to stand for them." Noble, Kayla Vor mused. Also foolish. Perhaps. She could crush him now. End this farce before it began. But something in his stance, in his unwavering gaze, intrigued her. The Talaxi valued courage above all else. Stupid courage, yes, but courage nonetheless. "Very well," she said. "I accept your challenge." The court exploded into chaos again. Her chief advisor, Drexnor, pushed forward. "Empress, this is madness. The human clearly cannot what?" Kayla Vor's voice cut like a blade. "Offer a legitimate challenge under galactic law? I am Empress precisely because I never declined a lawful challenge. Will you ask me to become a coward now?" Drexnor's mandibles clacked shut. He bowed low and retreated.
Kayla Vor turned back to Marcus. "The terms."
"State them. Single combat. No weapons. Fight continues until submission or incapacitation. Witnessed by representatives of both species and neutral observers. Winner's claim to Theta Persei 4 is recognized as legitimate under galactic law." "And when you lose, what becomes of you?" "When I lose, I accept whatever fate you decree. My life for the chance to save that world." The certainty in his voice, not arrogance, but acceptance, made Kayla Vor's crest rise with interest. She had never encountered anything quite like this human. Every challenger before him had carried some measure of doubt, some flicker of fear. This one had clearly made peace with his death before even arriving. 3 days hence, she declared, the arena of eternal judgment. Full ceremony. Representatives from the Galactic Council will bear witness. She leaned close, her voice dropping to a whisper only he could hear. You understand I will kill you? That mercy is not part of our tradition? Marcus nodded once. I understand. Then prepare yourself, human. You have bought your people 3 more days of peace. I suggest they enjoy them. As the guards escorted Marcus from the throne room, Kalavor watched him go. His spine remained straight despite the certain death he'd just arranged. Her warriors whispered among themselves, some laughing, others shaking their heads at the audacity. But Kalavor did not laugh. Something in her gut, the same instinct that had kept her alive through countless battles, stirred uneasily. This felt wrong somehow. Not the challenge itself, but the human's absolute calm in the face of it. What did Marcus Kane know that she did not? News of the challenge spread across the galaxy within hours. Human diplomatic channels erupted in panic. Earth's government issued formal protests, declared Marcus a rogue actor, distanced themselves from his actions. But they could not stop what had been set in motion. The challenge stood. Galactic law was clear. Kalavor spent the next day reviewing footage of human physiology, their brief military history, their evolutionary path. Persistence hunters, the reports said. Endurance specialists. They could run for days, track prey across vast distances, outlast stronger, faster creatures through sheer stubbornness.
Impressive for prey animals, irrelevant in a fight to the death.
She watched combat footage from humanity's recent border skirmish with the Kreth pirates. Humans fought with crude kinetic weapons, simple tactics, nothing sophisticated. They died easily enough when shot. Their bones broke. Their flesh tore. They were, by every measure, soft. Yet they won that skirmish, drove the Kreth back through what the reports described as unreasonable persistence and refusal to acknowledge logical defeat. Kalavor's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. That same trait brought Marcus Kane to her throne room, that same stubbornness. The second day she trained. Her personal combat master, a grizzled veteran who'd taught her the killing arts since childhood, put her through the traditional pre-combat rituals. Meditation. Combat forms. Sparring against her elite guard. You're distracted, the master observed after she missed an obvious opening. The human troubles me. The human should be beneath your notice. Yes, he should be. Kalavor executed a perfect strike sequence, imagining Marcus's fragile bones shattering, yet he is not. You sense deception? No. That's what troubles me. He's exactly what he appears to be, a man willing to die for his people. No tricks, no hidden agenda, just sacrifice. Her master's eyes narrowed. The Talaxi respect such warriors.
We do.
That's precisely why I cannot afford to show mercy. The court would see it as weakness. My enemies would use it against me. Then kill him quickly, grant him a warrior's death. It is the greatest honor we can offer. Kalavor nodded, but the unease remained. On the 3rd day, dawn broke over the arena of eternal judgment. The amphitheater had stood for 3,000 years, its stone walls stained with the blood of countless champions. 50,000 spectators filled the seats. Talaxi nobles, galactic dignitaries, journalists from 100 worlds. Above, holocams broadcasted the event across known space. In the preparation chamber, Kalavor donned the traditional combat harness. No armor.
No weapons.
Just wrappings to mark her as the Empress, fighting for her honor and her empire. Across the arena, in an identical chamber, Marcus Kane prepared himself. She watched him through the security feed. He wore simple human athletic clothing, no ceremonial dress.
No grand gestures.
He simply stretched, breathing slowly, centering himself. A human diplomatic envoy entered his chamber, frantically trying one last time to talk him out of this. Marcus shook his head, said something brief, and the envoy left looking devastated.
The horn sounded.
Time. Kalavor entered the arena to thunderous applause. Her people chanted her name, roared their approval. She raised her arms, accepting their devotion. This was her element. Her kingdom. Her inevitable victory. Then Marcus entered from the opposite gate. The crowd fell silent. Then laughter rippled through them. He looked even smaller in the vast arena, a fragile thing about to be crushed. Some Talaxi in the crowd called out mocking encouragement. Others simply stared in disbelief that this was actually happening. Marcus walked to the center of the arena, his eyes never leaving Caelivor. The Arbiter, a neutral Quillarian judge, floated between them. Its translucent form shimmered in the harsh sunlight. By the authority of the Galactic Council and the Treaty of Endless Stars, I oversee this ritual combat. Terms have been stated and accepted. Combat continues until submission or incapacitation. Winner's claim to the disputed world shall be recognized as law. Do both parties consent? I consent, Caelivor said. I consent, Marcus echoed. Then let honor guide your claws and courage fill your hearts. Begin. The Arbiter vanished in a flash of light. Caelivor and Marcus faced each other across 20 feet of blood-stained sand. Last chance to yield, she offered. I will grant you a swift death if you surrender now. No shame in admitting the foolishness of this challenge. Marcus settled into a fighting stance she didn't recognize. His weight balanced, his hands open, his breathing controlled. No, he said simply. Caelivor charged. She covered the distance in 3 powerful strides, claws extended to disembowel him. The fight would end in seconds. A mercy, really. But Marcus moved. Not away. Sideways. At an angle she didn't expect. Her claws whistled through empty air where he'd been standing a fraction of a second before. She spun, confused, expecting to find him fleeing to the arena's edge. He was right there, inside her guard. His fist drove into her lower right eye cluster with shocking precision. Pain exploded through her skull. She staggered back, vision blurring. The crowd gasped. Caelivor touched her face, feeling the swelling already beginning. No one had landed a clean strike on her in combat in 5 years. The human's hand should have shattered against her facial plates. Yet somehow, he'd found the exact vulnerable spot between bone structures. She looked at him with new eyes. He hadn't adopted any defensive stance. He simply waited, watching her, breathing evenly. Perhaps, she said, I underestimated you. Marcus said nothing, but something in his expression shifted. A grim smile touched his lips. Let us continue, then. Caelivor advanced more carefully this time, respecting the threat he posed. She feinted left, then swept with her right arm, using her superior reach to keep them at distance. Marcus ducked under the swing and stepped inside again. His elbow struck her neck ridge. Her breath caught. He pivoted, drove his knee into her lower abdomen with enough force to make her grunt, then was gone again before she could grab him. 2 more strikes. 2 more hits on vulnerable spots that should have been impossible for him to know about. Caelivor's combat instincts screamed warnings. She'd been studying humans. Marcus had been studying Talaxi. Every weak point in their anatomy, every gap in their natural armor. He fought like an assassin, not a warrior, like someone who'd spent months learning exactly how to kill her species with his bare hands. The human had done his homework. She pressed her advantage of size and strength, unleashing a combination attack that had killed her last 3 challengers. Marcus absorbed some hits, grunted in pain, but kept moving. When her claw strike came at his head, he caught her wrist, twisted, and used her own momentum to throw her off balance. Caelivor stumbled. The crowd roared in disbelief. She rounded on him, fury rising. Clever tricks. But tricks will not save you. I know, Marcus said quietly. Blood dripped from his mouth. She'd definitely broken something in that last exchange. But they'll buy me time. Time for what? To tire you out. Caelivor almost laughed. Then she realized the arena felt hotter than usual. The sun beat down mercilessly. Her breathing had grown labored. How long had they been fighting? 5 minutes? 10? She looked at Marcus, asked. His chest heaved. Sweat poured down his face. But his eyes remained sharp, alert, and he was smiling that grim smile again. You're injured, she pointed out. Bleeding. Why do you smile? Because I've been running for an hour before sunrise every day for 6 months. Training in heat chambers, building endurance. He wiped blood from his mouth. How long since you fought a battle that lasted longer than a few minutes? The answer chilled her. Years. Maybe decades. Talaxi combat was brutal and swift. Overwhelming force. Decisive victory. They didn't do endurance battles. I see, she said softly. The persistence hunter strategy. You're stronger. Faster. Better armored. I can't beat you in a direct fight. Marcus adjusted his stance, protecting his ribs. But I can outlast you. If I survive long enough, you'll tire.
No.
Make mistakes. Then I'll have my chance. Bold. Assuming you can survive that long. Only one way to find out. Kalevor respected the strategy, even as she prepared to crush it. She would simply kill him before endurance became a factor. End this decisively. Now, she attacked with everything she had, full strength. Maximum speed, no holding back. Her claws tore through the air. Her strikes could pulverize stone. Marcus should have fallen in seconds, but he didn't. He moved like water, flowing around her attacks, absorbing what he couldn't avoid, striking back when opportunities appeared. Every exchange cost him. New cuts, new bruises, new injuries. But every exchange cost her too, not in damage but in effort. In energy expended chasing this impossible prey. 10 minutes became 20. 20 became 30. Kalevor's muscles burned. Sweat matted her fur. Her breathing came in ragged gasps. This couldn't be happening. She was the Empress, supreme warrior of her people. She could not be outlasted by a human. Yet she was slowing. She felt it, and Marcus, bleeding and battered, kept moving. The crowd's cheers had faded to stunned silence. They were witnessing something impossible. Kalevor lunged again, but her timing was off. Marcus sidestepped and delivered a devastating strike to her left knee. Something in the joint cracked. She roared in pain and fury, spinning to backhand him across the arena. The blow connected. Marcus flew 15 feet, hit the sand hard, and didn't move. Kalevor limped forward, each step agony. She'd won. It was over. The human's gambit had failed. But as she approached, Marcus pushed himself up. Blood poured from his nose. One arm hung at an odd angle.
But he stood.
"Stay down," Kalevor commanded. "You fought well. Die with honor. Do not prolong this." Marcus shook his head. "Can't. People depending on me. You cannot win. Look at you. One more hit, and you die." "Then you'd better not miss." He raised his good arm in a fighting stance. The broken arm he held against his ribs. Kalevor felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Doubt. Not in the outcome. She would kill him eventually. But doubt in the cost. In what it meant. This human refused to quit. Refused to acknowledge defeat. Even broken, he stood defiant. The Talaxi valued courage above all else. Looking at Marcus Kane, battered and bleeding and unbowed, Kalevor saw courage in its purest form. Not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear determine action. "Your people are fortunate," she said quietly, "to have such a champion." Then she charged one final time, knowing this would end it. Knowing she would kill this brave, foolish human and claim his world. Knowing she would never forget the look in his eyes as he faced death without flinching. But as she closed the distance, something unexpected happened. Marcus didn't try to dodge. He stepped forward into her charge and drove his good arm's fingers into her throat with surgical precision. Kalevor's world exploded in pain and darkness. Her windpipe collapsed. She crashed to the sand, gasping, suffocating. Her vision tunneled. Panic flooded her system. Through the haze, she saw Marcus collapse beside her, unconscious from the impact of her charge meeting his counterstrike. Both combatants lay motionless in the sand. The crowd erupted. The Arbiter materialized instantly, medical teams rushing from both sides. Kalevor's doctors worked frantically to restore her breathing. The human medical team scrambled to stabilize Marcus. Kalevor's vision cleared slowly as oxygen returned. She turned her head, saw Marcus being worked on 20 feet away. His chest rose and fell irregularly. The medical team shouted commands at each other in panicked human voices. She tried to speak, but her damaged throat allowed only rasping sounds. The doctors held her down, telling her to remain still, that her life hung by a thread. But Kalevor's eyes remained fixed on the human. He had actually done it. Found a way to bring down an empress, not through strength or speed, but through knowledge, endurance, and the absolute refusal to surrender. The persistence hunter strategy, executed with desperate perfection. The Arbiter floated between them as medical teams worked. This combat is suspended pending medical assessment. Both combatants are incapacitated. Judgment shall be rendered based on treaty protocols for simultaneous incapacitation. Kalevor closed her eyes. She knew the protocols. When both combatants fell, the Arbiter examined the specific circumstances. Who struck the decisive blow? Who demonstrated superior combat skill? Who embodied the warrior spirit? For the first time in her life, Empress Kalevor, supreme matriarch of the Talaxi Empire, faced the possibility of defeat. Not from superior force, but from a species the galaxy had dismissed as weak. from a single human who refused to accept the impossible. As consciousness faded, she found herself hoping Marcus survived, not because she wanted to lose, but because the galaxy needed to witness what humanity was truly capable of. The age of underestimating humans, she realized, was over. The question now was whether anyone would believe what they'd witnessed today. The medical bay hummed with activity. Kayla Vore woke to find herself in a regeneration tank, nanotechnology working to repair her damaged throat. Around her, Talaxi doctors moved with quiet efficiency. Through the transparent wall of the tank, she could see her advisors gathered in urgent conference. Drexnor noticed her consciousness returning and approached. His expression carried something she'd rarely seen directed at her. Concern, Empress, he said through the tank's communication system. Please remain calm. Your injuries are severe but not life-threatening. Full recovery expected in 4 days. She tried to speak. Her voice emerged as a painful rasp. The human? Alive? 3 broken ribs, fractured arm, internal bleeding, severe concussion. His doctors have him in critical care. They're uncertain if he'll regain consciousness. Kayla Vore closed her eyes. Relief washed through her, surprising in its intensity. She didn't want the human to die. Not like this. Not in a medical bay. Denied the dignity of a warrior's death in the arena. The judgment? Drexnor's mandibles clicked nervously. The arbiter is still deliberating. Both combatants fell. The treaty protocols are complex. The decision could go either way. What is the court's opinion? A pause. Then, carefully, the court is divided, Empress. Some argue that you delivered the more devastating blows throughout the fight. Others point to the human's final strike, which proved more immediately incapacitating. Still others suggest that the human demonstrated superior tactical skill despite inferior physical capabilities. And your opinion? Drexnor met her eyes. Honestly, I believe the human won. Not officially, not yet. But in every way that matters, he defeated you through superior preparation and unbreakable will. The arbiter will likely rule in his favor. Kayla Vore expected to feel rage at this assessment. Instead, she felt only a strange acceptance. I see. Empress, if the ruling goes against you, we could challenge the decision. Argue that treaty protocols were improperly applied. Delay the final judgment for years through legal maneuvering. No. But Empress, I said no. Her voice grew stronger despite the pain. If the arbiter rules for the human, we accept it. A challenge was issued and accepted. I will not dishonor myself by contesting the legitimate defeat. Drexnor bowed. As you command. Alone in the regeneration tank, Kayla Vore replayed the fight in her mind. Every exchange, every decision. She'd made no major errors. Fought well by every standard. Yet the human had matched her, survived her, and ultimately struck the blow that brought her down. She'd spent 3 days studying humanity's evolutionary history. Should have spent 3 months, or years. The persistence hunting strategy wasn't just a biological adaptation. It was a fundamental aspect of human psychology. They simply didn't know when to quit. Didn't understand the concept of impossible. A soft chime indicated an incoming communication. Kayla Vore accepted it. The screen materialized, showing a human woman in military uniform. Her face carried lines of stress and exhaustion. Empress Kayla Vore, the woman said stiffly. I am Admiral Chen, representing Earth's military command. I'm calling to apologize for Marcus Kane's unauthorized actions and to formally disavow... Stop. Admiral Chen blanked. Excuse me? Your apology is neither required nor welcome. Marcus Kane issued a legitimate challenge under galactic law. He fought with honor and courage. You should be proud of him, not apologizing for him. Empress, our government had no knowledge of his intentions. He acted alone, without authorization. We cannot... What? Cannot accept that one of your own had the courage to stand for his people when you would not. Kayla Vore's voice carried sharp edges despite her injuries. I respect Marcus Kane. I do not respect leaders who abandon their champions. Admiral Chen's face flushed. With respect, Empress, you don't understand the political situation. If we formally acknowledge Marcus's actions, it could be seen as an act of war. Your empire could use it as justification for, my empire will do nothing of the sort. When the arbiter renders judgment, we will honor it. End of discussion. You're saying if the decision goes in Marcus's favor, you'll cede your territorial claim? Just like that? A challenge was issued and accepted. Consequences were agreed upon. I am many things, Admiral Chen, but I am not an oathbreaker. Kayla Vore leaned forward despite the pain. Tell me something. Why did your government send no one to support Marcus in the arena? He fought alone. Bled alone. Nearly died alone. Where were you? Admiral Chen's jaw tightened. We couldn't risk appearing to endorse a rogue action. The diplomatic ramifications are worth less than a single warrior's courage. Goodbye, Admiral. When Marcus wakes, tell him the Empress of the Talaxi salutes his bravery. She terminated the connection before the Admiral could respond. 2 days passed. Kalavor's recovery progressed rapidly. By the morning of the second day, she could speak normally and move without assistance. Her doctors cleared her to leave the medical bay, though they strongly advised rest. She ignored them and went to the observation deck overlooking the human medical facility. Marcus still hadn't woken. Through the windows, she watched human doctors working around his bed. Advanced equipment monitored his vital signs. His chest rose and fell with mechanical regularity, assisted by respirators. One of the doctors, an older man with gray hair, sat beside the bed, holding Marcus's hand and speaking softly. A guard approached Kalavor. Empress, the Arbiter has requested your presence. The judgment is ready. She took one last look at the unconscious human, then nodded. Very well. Let us hear what the galaxy has decided. The judgment chamber was smaller than the arena, but no less formal. The Arbiter floated at the center, its translucent form shifting with barely contained energy. Representatives from the Galactic Council lined the walls. Holocams recorded everything for the countless billions watching across known space. Kalavor entered from one side. From the other, a delegation of humans appeared, led by Admiral Chen, but Marcus's bed was wheeled in as well, life support equipment humming. He remained unconscious, unaware of the proceedings. That's unusual, Drexnor whispered. Why bring him if he cannot participate? Because he earned the right to hear this, Kalavor replied softly. The Arbiter spoke, its voice resonating through the chamber. This tribunal has reviewed all evidence regarding the ritual combat between Empress Kalavor of the Talaxi Empire and Marcus Kane of Earth. We have examined combat footage, medical reports, and applicable treaty law. We are now ready to render judgment. The chamber fell absolutely silent. Both combatants demonstrated exceptional skill and courage. Both suffered severe injuries. Both struck blows that incapacitated their opponent. Under normal circumstances, such a result would be declared a draw, with no territorial claims resolved. Kalavor's crest rose. A draw, an honorable outcome. Theta Percy IV would remain disputed territory, but at least, however, the Arbiter continued, we find that normal circumstances do not apply here. The human combatant Marcus Kane entered this challenge at a profound physical disadvantage. Talaxi physiology provides significant advantages in strength, speed, natural weaponry, and durability. For a human to merely survive such a combat would be remarkable. To force a mutual incapacitation is extraordinary. The human delegation shifted nervously. Kalavor remained perfectly still. Furthermore, analysis of the final exchange shows that Marcus Kane's strike directly caused Empress Kalavor's incapacitation through windpipe collapse. Empress Kalavor's strike caused Marcus Kane's unconsciousness through impact trauma. Medical experts agree that Kalavor would have died from asphyxiation before Marcus Kane would have died from his injuries. Therefore, in the absence of medical intervention, Marcus Kane delivered the decisive blow. Admiral Chen's eyes widened. The Talaxi delegation erupted in angry muttering. Drexnor's mandibles clicked in agitation. Therefore, the Arbiter declared, we rule in favor of Marcus Kane. The human colony on Theta Percy IV is recognized as legitimate under galactic law. The Talaxi Empire's territorial claim is void. This judgment is final and binding. Chaos erupted. Human representatives celebrated. Talaxi advisors protested loudly. Drexnor turned to Kalavor, waiting for her command to contest the ruling. But Kalavor simply stood, walked to the center of the chamber, and bowed deeply to the unconscious human. The room fell silent again. I accept the Arbiter's judgment, she announced clearly. Marcus Kane fought with honor and skill. He earned this victory. Theta Percy IV belongs to humanity. Drexnor stepped forward urgently. Empress, you need not... I need to honor the terms of the challenge I accepted. Or would you have your Empress become an oathbreaker? Drexnor bowed his head. No, Empress. Kalavor approached Marcus's bed. The old doctor sitting beside it stood, positioning himself protectively between her and his patient. She found the gesture admirable. Peace, doctor. I mean him no harm. She looked down at Marcus's face, pale and drawn, marked by bruises and medical sensors. When he wakes, tell him this. Tell him that Empress Kalavor acknowledges his victory. Tell him that he has earned the respect of the Talaxi Empire. Tell him that any human who shows such courage is welcome in our space as an honored guest." She turned to Admiral Chen. "And tell your government that they are fools for not supporting him. He did what your diplomats and generals could not. Remember that." Without waiting for a response, Kayla Vore left the chamber, her guards following in silence. 3 days later, Marcus Kane woke to find himself in a medical facility that seemed too clean, too quiet. Pain radiated through his body. Breathing hurt, moving hurt, thinking hurt, but he was alive. "Easy," a familiar voice said. Ramesh, his personal physician, appeared beside the bed. "Don't try to move. You've been unconscious for 5 days. You have a list of injuries that would make a medical textbook. Did we? Marcus's voice came out as a croak. Dr. Ramesh smiled. "You won. The arbiter ruled in your favor. Theta Percy 4 remains ours." Marcus closed his eyes, relief washing through him. Worth it. The pain, the fear, the certainty of death. Worth it to save those families, those homes. "There's more," Dr. Ramesh continued. "You've become something of a galactic celebrity. The human who defeated a Talaxi Empress. Footage of your fight has been viewed billions of times. Earth's government is scrambling to figure out how to handle you. They disavowed me. Initially, yes. Now they're trying to claim credit for your actions. Politics." Dr. Ramesh's expression turned serious. "The Empress sent a message for you. Would you like to hear it?" Marcus nodded. Dr. Ramesh activated a holographic display. Kayla Vore appeared, standing in what looked like a private chamber. Her throat showed signs of healing, but remained bandaged. "Marcus Kane," the recording began, "you defeated me through superior tactics, unbreakable will, and courage worthy of the greatest Talaxi warriors. I acknowledge your victory without reservation. Theta Persei 4 is yours. The Talaxi Empire will honor this judgment. But more than that, I want you to understand what you have accomplished. You have changed how the galaxy views humanity. Before our battle, most species saw you as weak curiosities from a backwater world. Now they see you as dangerous, not through superior technology or military might, but through your refusal to accept defeat, through your persistence. I studied your species after our fight. I should have done so before. Persistence hunters, the reports say. Animals that can chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. But you are not mere animals. You are persistence hunters who have applied that strategy to everything. To survival, to advancement, to achieving the impossible. Other species have advantages you lack. Strength, speed, natural weapons, technology. But no other species possesses your fundamental inability to acknowledge when something is impossible. That makes you perhaps the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. I am honored to have faced you in combat. I am humbled by my defeat, and I am grateful for the lesson you taught me. Never underestimate an opponent who refuses to quit. You and I, Marcus Kane, are enemies no longer. When you have healed, you are welcome in the Talaxi Empire as an honored guest. I would very much like to speak with you in a context that does not involve trying to kill each other. Until then, heal well, protect your people, and know that the Empress of the Talaxi respects you." The recording ended. Marcus lay still, processing everything. He'd expected rage from Kayla Vore. Humiliation. Possibly an assassination attempt once he was vulnerable. Not this. Not respect. Not an invitation to friendship. "She seems genuine," Dr. Ramesh observed. "The diplomatic corps is analyzing every word, but I've been monitoring Talaxi communications. She's honored the agreement completely. Withdrawn all claims to Theta Persei 4, even issued orders protecting human ships in Talaxi space." "She's honorable," Marcus said quietly. "I knew that before I challenged her. That's why I believed she'd accept the result. You gambled 50,000 lives on that belief. I gambled my life. The 50,000 lives were already at risk. I just gave them a chance." Dr. Ramesh shook his head. "You're either the bravest person I know or the craziest. Possibly both. Probably both." Marcus tried to sit up, winced at the pain. "How long until I can travel?" "Several weeks at minimum. Your body went through trauma that... How long until I can travel?" "Dr. Hook," Ramesh sighed. "Knowing you, you'll be trying to leave tomorrow regardless of medical advice. So I'll say 2 weeks if you follow every instruction I give you. 4 weeks is safer. 2 weeks. I have a message to send." "To whom?" Marcus looked at the frozen image of Kayla Vore on the holographic display. "To an empress who deserves a proper thank you. and an apology for what my government said about her. You're planning to go to the Talaxi Empire? After you nearly died fighting their empress? She invited me. Would be rude to refuse. Doctor. Ramesh laughed. You're impossible. No, Marcus said, settling back into the bed with a slight smile. Just persistent. 2 weeks later, against his doctor's strenuous objections, Marcus Kane boarded a diplomatic shuttle bound for the Talaxi homeworld. Earth's government had tried to stop him, argued that he was still recovering, that this could be a trap, that he'd caused enough diplomatic incidents already. He ignored them all. The shuttle journey took 3 days. Marcus spent the time reading everything he could about Talaxi culture, protocol, and history. He'd studied their combat physiology before the challenge. Now he studied their art, their philosophy, their values. The more he read, the more he understood Kelavor. The Talaxi prized strength, yes, but also honor above all else. They valued warriors who fought with integrity, who kept their word regardless of cost. Kelavor had earned her throne not just through combat skill, but through her reputation for absolute honesty. That's what had made the challenge work. Marcus had gambled that she would honor the outcome no matter what, and she had. The shuttle emerged from hyperspace near the Talaxi homeworld, a massive planet with crimson oceans and purple vegetation. Cities sprawled across continents, their architecture sharp and angular, built for a species that valued strength in all things. We're receiving clearance to land directly at the Imperial Palace, the pilot announced nervously. That's unprecedented for a non-Talaxi ship. Marcus smiled. The Empress likes to make statements. The palace dominated the capital city, a fortress of black stone that had stood for millennia. As the shuttle descended, Marcus could see thousands of Talaxis gathered in the streets watching the arrival. News of his visit had spread. Half the galaxy was probably watching this. The shuttle landed in the main courtyard. Marcus stood carefully, his ribs still aching despite the healing treatments. He'd refused pain medication for this meeting, wanted his head clear. The shuttle doors opened. Marcus stepped out into crimson sunlight. A delegation of Talaxi warriors stood in formation, honor guards in ceremonial armor, and at their center, Empress Kelavor herself, magnificent in formal robes that somehow made her seem even larger than she had in the arena. Marcus walked forward. Protocol dictated he should bow. But he'd read that among Talaxi warriors of equal rank, eye contact and respect mattered more than submissive gestures. He stopped 3 feet from Kelavor and met her eyes directly. Empress, he said clearly, thank you for the invitation. Kelavor's mandibles clicked in what he'd learned was amusement. Marcus Kane, you look better than when last we met. Less blood, fewer broken bones. I was about to say the same about you. Your throat healed well, as did your everything. She gestured to regards. Leave us. The warriors hesitated only a moment before withdrawing. Marcus's pilot had already sealed the shuttle, leaving them alone in the massive courtyard. Walk with me, Kelavor said. We have much to discuss. They walked through palace gardens that blended military precision with unexpected beauty. Crystalline plants chimed in the wind. Water features cascaded down stone walls. It was peaceful in a way Marcus hadn't expected from the warrior empire. I wanted to apologize, Marcus began, for what my government said. The disavowal. The claims that I acted as a rogue agent. You deserved better. Kelavor waved a dismissive claw. Politicians are the same across all species. They lack the courage to act, then lack the integrity to support those who do. I expected nothing different from them. Still, you honored the judgment completely, withdrew all claims, protected human ships. You could have found ways to make things difficult. I gave my word. My word is absolute. She looked at him thoughtfully. But I did not invite you here for apologies. I invited you because I wanted to understand.
Understand what? How you knew you could win.
You studied Talaxi physiology extensively. You understood the odds. Yet you entered that arena with absolute certainty, not hope. Not faith, certainty. Why? Marcus considered the question carefully. They reached a viewing platform overlooking the city. Millions of Talaxi going about their lives below. Because I had to, he said finally. 50,000 people needed someone to stand for them. No one else would. So it had to be me. And if it had to be me, then I had to find a way to win. Failure wasn't an option, so I simply didn't fail. That makes no logical sense. I know. But that's how humans work. We decide something is necessary, and then we refuse to accept any outcome except success. Sometimes we fail anyway, of course, but the refusal to acknowledge impossibility is what drives us. Kelavor's crest rose thoughtfully. Persistence hunters. More than that, persistence beings, we persist through disasters, through setbacks, through defeats that should end us. We just keep going. It's not always rational. Sometimes it's stupid, but it's who we are. You realize what you've done? Calivore gestured to the city below. You've changed galactic politics. Other species are reevaluating humanity, wondering what else you're capable of. Some fear you now. I just wanted to save one colony, and in doing so you've saved potentially millions of human lives. Because now the galaxy knows humans will fight, will sacrifice, will find ways to win even when they shouldn't be able to. She turned to face him fully. You've made humanity dangerous through reputation alone. That's remarkable. Marcus shook his head. I'm just one person. Don't extrapolate too much from one fight. But you're not an anomaly. I've been studying your history since our battle. Your wars, your exploration, your advancement. Everything humanity has accomplished you've done by refusing to quit when more sensible species would have. You're all like this, stubborn, persistent, impossible to discourage. Is that a compliment or an insult? Both. Definitely both. Calivore's mandibles clicked in genuine amusement. I like your species, Marcus Kane. You're infuriating and dangerous and irrational, but you're also brave and determined and honorable in your own way. The galaxy will be more interesting with humanity in it. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the crimson sun set over the alien city. What happens now? Marcus asked. Between our peoples? That depends. Your government still fears us. Mine still sees humanity as potential threats, but you and I?
We understand each other.
Respect each other. Perhaps that's a start. A start toward what? Alliance. Eventually. Not next year. But eventually I think humanity and the Talaxi will find common ground. We both value courage. Honor. Strength, though we define it differently, you define it as physical power. We define it as refusing to quit.
But both are valid, both are necessary.
Calivore extended her hand, palm up. I would like to propose something unprecedented. A personal friendship between an empress and a human who defeated her. Will you accept? Marcus placed his much smaller hand in hers carefully. I'd be honored. Then let us scandalize both our governments by getting along. She grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth that would have been terrifying if Marcus didn't know the person behind them. Besides, I want a rematch someday, when you're fully healed. When we're both at our best. You want to fight me again? Of course. I learned from our first battle. Adapted. I won't make the same mistakes twice. Marcus laughed despite himself. You're serious? Absolutely. But this time, we fight as friends.
Training.
Testing ourselves. No stakes except pride and improvement. You know I'll just try the same strategy? Tire you out, strike vulnerabilities, and I'll be prepared for it, which means you'll need new strategies. Which means I'll need to adapt further. We'll make each other better warriors. Calivore's eyes gleamed. Unless you're afraid? Oh, that's a low blow. I learned from the best. You challenged an empress to single combat. I can certainly challenge you to a friendly rematch. Marcus thought about it. About returning to Earth, explaining to his government that he'd agreed to regular sparring sessions with the alien empress he'd nearly died fighting. They'd think he was insane, he grinned.
You're on.
But I choose the location next time. Somewhere with Earth-normal gravity. Level the playing field a bit. Agreed, and I'll teach you proper Talaxi combat forms. Your technique is effective but crude. With training, you could be genuinely formidable. Now you're just trying to flatter me. No, I'm being honest. You defeated me through cleverness and endurance. Imagine what you could do with actual skill added to that. They talked through the night, two warriors from different worlds finding unexpected friendship through mutual respect. They discussed combat philosophy, compared their species' approaches to conflict, debated tactics and strategies. As dawn broke over the Talaxi homeworld, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold, Marcus realized something profound. He'd come to this planet expecting to die. Instead, he'd found an ally, a friend, a bridge between two species that might prevent future conflicts, all because he'd refused to accept that victory was impossible. I should return soon, Marcus said reluctantly. My government will panic if I'm gone too long. Before you go, one thing. Calivore pulled something from her robes, a small medallion on a chain. Intricate Talaxi script covered its surface. This is the Star of Valor, our highest military honor. Only 17 exist in the entire empire. I want you to have one. I fought against you. You fought with honor. You earned victory fairly. You embodied every value the Talaxi holds sacred. She placed the medallion in his hand. Besides, it grants you diplomatic immunity throughout our empire. Free passage, guaranteed protection. Might prove useful someday. Marcus looked at the medallion, feeling its weight. Thank you. I don't know what to say. Say you'll come back. Say we'll have that rematch. Say humanity and the Talaxi can build something better than mutual suspicion. I'll come back, Marcus promised. And we'll fight again. And yes, I believe our peoples can find common ground. It won't be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is. That's a very human philosophy, by the way. Maybe Talaxi and humans are more alike than either species wants to admit. Kalavor's mandibles clicked in genuine laughter. Perhaps. Now go, before I decide to keep you here as a permanent sparring partner. Marcus returned to his shuttle, the Star of Valor hanging around his neck. As the ship lifted off, he watched the Imperial Palace recede below. Kalavor stood in the courtyard, watching him leave, one clawed hand raised in farewell. The journey back to Earth gave Marcus time to process everything that had happened.
It challenged an empress. Survived.
Won. And somehow, impossibly, made a friend in the process. Earth's government met him with a mixture of relief and frustration. They didn't know whether to celebrate him as a hero or reprimand him for unauthorized diplomatic contact. In the end, they did both. Public praise, private criticism. Marcus didn't care. He'd saved Theta Persei 4. That's what mattered. But the ramifications spread far beyond one colony. Within months, humanity's position in the galactic community shifted dramatically. The species that had been dismissed as weak curiosities became recognized as persistent, dangerous, and worthy of respect. Trade agreements improved. Territorial disputes became negotiations rather than demands. The Talaxi Empire formally recognized human sovereignty over several disputed regions. And it all started with one human who refused to accept that defeating an empress was impossible. 6 months later, Marcus returned to the Talaxi homeworld, this time officially, as Earth's first ambassador to the Talaxi Empire. His government had finally recognized what he'd known all along. Sometimes the best diplomacy came through understanding, respect, and occasionally beating each other unconscious in ritual combat. Kalavor greeted him like an old friend. They sparred regularly, training sessions that became famous across the galaxy. The human who defeated an empress and the empress who respected him for it, pushing each other to new heights, other species watched in fascination. Some began sending their own warriors to train with them. The practice became a symbol of the new era in galactic politics, strength through mutual challenge and respect. Years later, when historians asked Marcus about the moment that changed everything, he gave a simple answer. I realized the galaxy saw humans as weak because we lacked physical advantages. But they'd never faced an opponent who simply refused to lose. Persistence isn't just about running down prey. It's about staring at impossible odds and deciding they don't apply to you. That's the human advantage, not strength, not speed. Just the absolute refusal to quit. And somewhere in the Talaxi Empire, Empress Kalavor smiled at those words and prepared for their next training session. Because she'd learned something equally important in that arena. Sometimes the smallest opponent carried the strongest will, and strength came in many forms, not all of them visible until tested. The human had taught her that, and she would never underestimate them again. Neither would the galaxy.